All right, now we're just finishing up the book we were reading on the other side, weren't we? And anyway, it said, Nanny said, well, I don't know. And Kermit said, well, I started it. I should know what it is. You know, it's not any of those things. And then Nanny laughed and he said, well, Kermit, what is it? And she said, gee, Nanny, scratching his head, he said, I don't remember anymore. Can you imagine what it might be? Now, what would you turn that box into if it was your box, Hunt?
A house.
What would you turn it into, Cheyenne?
A cave.
A cave. What would you put inside it?
Teddy bear.
What would you put inside it?
All my stuff.
All your stuff? It wouldn't fit.
Some of my stuff.
Some of your stuff, huh? All right, we'll read one more book here. This one's called Puppy Love, featuring Jim Henson's Sesame Street Muppets. Jim Henson is a man who he created all of these guys on Sesame Street and a lot of other. He created also he created Rolf and he created Kermit and all those guys too. Okay.
Kermit's sometime in Sesame Street.
I know he is. He comes to visit, doesn't he? It says it was just a quiet morning on Sesame Street, and Ernie and Bert were just finishing breakfast when the telephone rang. Hello, said Ernie. Sure. Well, don't worry, you can count on us. Goodbye. Ernie, who is that on the phone? Asked Bert. Who can count on us? Oh, gee, Bert, it was Barbara, said Ernie. She called to ask us a favor, and I said, well, we'll do it. Oh, good, said Bert. What kind of favor? Oh, it's nothing very much, Bert, said Ernie. I just said that we'd take care of Barbara's dog, Hulk, while she visits her grandmother today. Ernie, we don't know the first thing about taking care of dogs, shouted Bert. Oh, don't worry, Bert. There's nothing to it, said Ernie. Come on, we have to meet Barbara and Hulk. Well, they walked out of the house, didn't they? They walked down to the street corner on Sesame Street.
How come his name is Hulk?
I don't know. This is Hulk, I guess.
Hulk?
And this is Hulk. Like H-U-L-K. Hulk. Weird name? Yeah, it just starts just like Hunter. See? Here's how it's spelled. Look at that. H-U-L-K.
U comes after
H in your name, too. So yours is Huh, and this is Huh, but this goes Hulk, and yours goes Hunter.
Hunt and Hulk.
That's right. It's hi, Ernie. Hi, Bert, said Barbara when they were all met in front of Mr. Hopper's store. I'm sure glad you can take care of Hulk for me. I know you'll do a really terrific job, and I have to go now or I'll miss my bus. Bye. And what are we going to do with the dog, huh, Ernie? Asked Bert. Well, I've got an idea, Bert, said Ernie, as he saw Barkley, the dog, trotting down towards them. Hi, Barkley. Bert and I have to take care of this cute little puppy. Maybe you can give us a hand. I mean a paw. And so Barkley grabbed Hulk's leash and began leading the puppy down the street. Come on, Bert, shouted Ernie. Barkley's taking Hulk for a walk. I guess he's trying to tell us that puppies need exercise. And so off they go to the park. And at last, Bert and Ernie caught up with the dogs as they walked in the park. Here, fetch, Hulk. Fetch, Barkley, shouted Bert, and he tossed a stick across the grass. Let's play hide and seek, said Ernie, and he jumped behind a tree to hide. Bet you can't find me. Now, what's Hulk doing?
He's eating that.
Eating the tree trunk, isn't he, or the roots? Well, now, after a while, Ernie and Bert and Barkley and Hulk plopped down under a shady tree. Boy, am I tired and hungry, said Bert. Yeah, so am I, said Ernie. Well, come on, Bert, said Ernie. Let's take Barkley and Hulk home and feed them some lunch. I'll bet they're hungry. Well, you're right, Ernie, said Bert. As Barkley and Hulk ate their dog food, the dogs really were hungry and thirsty. Who around here feeds our dogs?
Willie.
Willie feeds the dogs, don't he? And when Willie gets bigger and goes off to school, who's going to feed him then?
Who?
Guess who?
Rabbit?
No.
I don't know how to feed them.
Oh, but you'll learn. Probably when Willie goes...
I know how to when I get bigger.
Yeah.
No, I don't know how to. We just took it from him. outside the barn.
And that's right.
I'm on the ground.
That's right. You can take the food, and you're going to feed the horses and the dogs. Maybe Cheyenne will feed the kitties, and you'll feed the dogs. Is that cool?
I'll feed the cat. She'll feed the dog.
Okay. All righty.
No, I'll feed the cat.
Well, who's going to feed the horses?
I will feed the horses.
Will you? Oh, I knew you.
The hay is too heavy.
No, she'll be bigger. She'll be bigger. She can do it when she's bigger.
No,
Anyway.
I'll just get the cow in.
All right. Well, anyway, so here's Bert and Ernie. He said, well, what should we do now, Bert? Asked Ernie when they'd all finished up eating. And before Bert could figure out an answer, Barkley dashed out the door and ran down Sesame Street. Barkley, wait! Where are you going? Called Bert. And by the time Bert and Ernie and Hulk had run outside, Barkley was back, and he was dragging a long green garden hose. Hey, Bert, said Ernie, are you thinking what I'm thinking? I don't know, Ernie, said Bert. What are you thinking? He said, well, I'm thinking that water washes things, huh? You mean like, puppies? That's it, Bert, said Ernie. I'm thinking that old Barkley here is telling us that part of taking care of a puppy is keeping him clean. And I think he's telling us he wants to give the puppy a bath. And so they turned on the water. But who jumped in the pond? Look who jumped in. Barkley did, didn't he? Bert got the shampoo, got the dog shampoo, and then Ernie got his rubber ducky, and they lathered up Hulk with soap suds. And then while Bert held the puppy gently, Ernie rinsed the suds off with cool water from the garden hose. And look at what they're doing. Now that dog's going to shake, isn't he? Going to shake that water all over him. And so Bert and Ernie dried Hulk and Barkley with a big towel. And now what, said Bert. What do we do now? Gee, I don't know, said Ernie, but I think Barkley does. See? He brought us a brush. Look at it. He's got it in his mouth. What does he want him to do?
Brush his hair.
Brush his hair, that's right. He must want us to brush the puppy, said Bert. And so he picked up the brush and he began to smooth out the little dog's fur. Oh, wow, said Ernie. Look how shiny and soft Hulk's coat is getting. Right, Ernie, said Bert. Now let's brush Barkley next. And when Bert and Ernie had brushed both dogs, they decided to go back inside, and Bert set Hulk down in the middle of the living room, and Hulk yawned a great big yawn. And, hey, Ernie, said Bert, I just thought of something else we could do. What's that, said Ernie. Well, we could make the puppy a bed. And so Bert answered, and he says, we can use this nifty blanket and make a nice soft place for him to sleep. Gee, Bert, a nap's not a bad idea, said Ernie. And so when the dogs went to sleep, in fact, well, I think maybe I'll take a little nap myself. Bert! Ernie! Called Barbara from outside. I've come to pick up Hulk. We'll be right down, Bert shouted back. Hi, Hulk, said Barbara. It looks like you've had a good time. Thanks, Ernie. Thanks, Bert, and thank you, Barkley. Aw, it was nothing, said Bert. We just took him for a walk and played games with him and fed him lunch, and we washed him and brushed him and let him take a nap, and now we're going to miss him, they both said. We liked being dog sitters. You know, Ernie, said Bert, taking care of a pet is a lot of work, but it's also a lot of fun. It sure is going to be lonely around here without a dog to take care of. Well, don't worry about it, Bert, said Ernie. I have a feeling we're going to have a dog to take care of very soon. And here comes Barkley, and he's bringing the hose and the brush and the leash because he wants Bert and Ernie to do what?
Play with him.
Yeah, play with him and take care of him. And that is the end of our story for tonight. Tomorrow night we'll finish up the rest of what's on this tape, okay?
Then you might erase it.
And now, it's not the next night because we had people here and a lot of things, didn't we? But now we'll just go on and we'll record a news story. Now it's Sunday afternoon, and it's like March 1st. And Bob and Isla were just here, weren't they? Uncle Bob and Aunt Isla were just here? Yeah, isn't that neat? You got to see him. Cheyenne, are you going to climb up here, see you on the couch? Okay, Cheyenne's doing a drawing. All right, we're going back to Garfield's Scary Tales. This is what we're going to read, and it's called A Ghost Story. A Ghost Story. All right. Tell me about this picture, Hunter.
Odie is running around in circles.
And what's Garfield doing?
Okay. He don't like it.
He's not very happy, is he?
Mm-hmm.
And what's John doing?
Just putting firewood in the fire.
Putting firewood in the fire. And they've got a pup tent out there. They're out in the woods, aren't they?
Yeah.
And the picture has a picture of a tent where they're going to sleep, I take it. Do you want to go out and sleep in a tent someday?
Okay, but which tent could I take?
Well, we have one tent downstairs. We could get a tent. And
Oh,
maybe if
I
we...
know which tent it is.
What?
Ninja Turtle one.
No. We have a bigger one, a real tent that we could go out in. But then we could always get a new tent, too, if we really did some camping. You guys really like to go camping. No?
Yeah.
But here's the tent, and there they are, and they're outside, and here's John, and here's Garfield, and here's crazy, what's his name, Odie? He's going around in circles, like Hunter says. It says, John Arbuckle slipped off his backpack. This looks like a nice spot, he said to Garfield and Odie. We'll camp here tonight. We're going to stay here, said Garfield. And he gazed around the small clearing, and it was hemmed in by huge pine trees surrounded them. And Garfield said, well, where's the bed? Oh, where's the refrigerator, John? John, I don't like this. Where's the nearest motel? I want to stay in a hotel. Well, John sat down on a log, and he took a deep breath, and he said, oh, Garfield, don't you just love the outdoors? And Odie went, arf, 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 and he started running around, and Odie likes the outdoors. Sure, you love it, Garfield said. Look at all the trees. This is doggy heaven. But just wait until some bear comes in and makes you into a midnight snack. Uh-oh. A bear come in and make him into a midnight snack? Oh, my goodness. Okay, well, now each one of them had a job to do. And Odie chased his tail, and Garfield complained, and John put up the tent, and he started to fire. And when John had finished, they all sat down around the fire, and Garfield's eyes began to water, and so did John's, and Odie started to cough, and in a moment they were all coughing. It was like, maybe this fire should be outside the tent, suggested John, because they put the fire inside the tent at first. Well, so they took it outside, and they built the fire outside, and that worked a whole lot better. Because at first they had it in the tent. That didn't make any sense, did it? Now, in a short time, the sun disappeared behind the tall pine trees, and the moon came out, and John cooked some dinner, and Garfield made a face at the food, and he only ate 2 helpings of everything. And afterwards, John leaned back, and he patted his tummy like this. He said, there's nothing like eating hot dogs on a stick and beans out of a can when you're outdoors in the woods and you have a campfire. And Garfield said, yeah, it's right up there with pond scum and dirty socks. That's how much I like it. Garfield doesn't want to be there, does he? He doesn't like it at all. What do you think? Would you like to be there, Shay?
Yeah.
To be outside in the dark in the woods in a tent and have a fire? Would that be fun? I think so. Uh-oh. Did you know what we need now? John asked. And Garfield said, somebody to come rescue us. No. We need a good, scary story, said John. Well, now it was dark night in the deep of the woods. That sounds familiar, observed Garfield. Garfield is not liking this story, though. And 3 campers were sitting around a campfire, and somewhere in the forest an owl hooted. And just then, somewhere in the forest, an owl did hoot. And the 3 campers sensed that they were not alone, and suddenly they heard a twig snap because somebody beyond the bushes was walking. "Yikes!" said Garfield. Oh no, thought John. Oh, and Odie. They all cling to each other. And there, at the edge of the firelight, stood a huge, furry creature grasping an enormous, gleaming axe.
Yeah, stop too. Stop. Right?
"Evening, campers," growled the figure, stepping closer. It was a bushy-headed man in a bear skin. "Saw your fire," said the man. "Thought you might like some company." Yeah, said John. Be our guest." And so the man sat cross-legged on the ground, the axe resting on his knees, flame glinting off the polished razor-sharp blade, and he stared at the campers. We were telling scary stories," said John. "And it worked because we got scared with a little help from you." And John laughed nervously, but the stranger didn't crack a smile. He said, "I know a scary story." He leaned forward. "It's about these here woods. You see, once a long, long time ago, there was a woodsman hereabout named Zeb. And he was a big man, and he always carried an axe like this one." And Garfield looked at him, and his hair stood on end, and he said, "He was a mean, mean man, and even the bears were afraid of him, and he felt these woods were his own private property, and if he caught anybody like campers trespassing in them, well, he'd put that axe up to no good," and said, "You get my drift?" "Oh, I get it," squeaked John, beginning to sweat. And he said, "One day Zeb is tromping through the woods, and he hears this singing. Well, you know how Zeb feels about people trespassing in his woods. So he sharpens his axe with a stone, and then he creeps within the sound, without a sound, right up to where they're singing. And he peeks out, and he sees a woman beside the brook singing in the water, and she's the most beautiful thing he's ever seen. And just like that, pop, old Zeb falls in love. And he wants to talk to this woman and hold her hand and look in her eyes. And so he steps out of the trees, and the second this woman spots him, all big and ugly and carrying his axe, she runs. And Zeb chases her mile after mile through the woods, trying to convince her that he means her no harm. And finally he comes to the edge of a high cliff above the lake. And the woman is nowhere in sight, and she's not on the rocks. And there's no telltale ripples in the lake. She just disappeared. And this is worse than one of John's dates, thought Garfield. Well, old Zeb just went crazy. He cut down every living thing in his path looking for that woman, and he hunted for her until his dying day. And they say he still hunts these woods at night carrying his axe. And the stranger began tapping the axe with his enormous palm. He'd go. He searches for her, but he never finds her. And so he just keeps getting meaner and meaner and angrier and angrier. And if he ever meets anyone in this woods, well... And Garfield and John and Odie didn't wait to hear the end of the story. They jumped up and they went running away through the woods as fast as they could, their legs trembling. And just, "Run, run, Garfield, run, Odie, run, John!" They're all running away as fast as they can go. And the stranger watched them go, and then he set his axe on the ground, and he picked up John's backpack, and soon he was stretched out by the fire eating hot dogs and beans. And Zeb, he said to himself, one of these days campers will stop believing that silly story, but until then it's sure lots of fun. And so they all ran off, and here he is, and he's eating.
Who is it?
But well, he told a story about Zeb, but he did it just to get their food. And they ran away because they were scared. They thought that he was Zeb, and Zeb and his axe were going to come get him. That's the end of the story. But now what this one is called is The Closet Thing.
Did this one.
I did?
No, you didn't. I did. Let's do this.
Okay. It says, a low, excited growl woke Garfield from his sound sleep. Odie, you're dreaming again, mumbled Garfield without opening his eyes. Wake up or shut up. The growling continued, and slowly Garfield raised his eyelids. Darkness inside and out, and there was moonlight glowing from behind the living room drapes.
Oh.
And the hunkering shadow of John's easy chair and the TV screen a blank, and Odie was growling. And whatever you're dreaming about, I hope it eats you, said Garfield. But when he turned his head, he saw that Odie was wide awake and his ears and tail were twitching, and he said, What is it, Odie? And Odie pointed over Garfield's shoulder towards the hall closet, and the door of the closet was open. What? The closet? Odie, there's nothing in the closet. Go back to sleep. But Odie continued to tremble and shake and growl, and he took several cautious steps toward the closet, and then with a yip, he returned and he sat beside Garfield, and he was scared. Well, now, wide awake, Garfield stared at the closet, and it was too dark to see anything inside, and there was nothing to see anyway, and so Garfield reminded himself there's just some coats and some boots, and there's some photo albums in there, and some tennis rackets, and an old black umbrella is in the closet. No, wait, honey, till I get to the point where I can turn it, shine. It's just a closet, Odie. That's all it is. No monsters or no ghosts are in the closet. Nothing scary except for John's baby pictures. But Odie went, Rrrr. You don't believe me? Look, I'll get the flashlight and prove it to you. And so Garfield went to climb out of bed, and then he halted, and he said, Well, I would prove it to you, but the flashlight's in the closet. Not that there's anything to be afraid of. I just hate to go over there in the dark and stub a paw or something. And so Odie paced rapidly back and forth, and never taking his eyes off the open door of the closet, because something's in there. And Garfield gazed at the inky shadows inside the closet, and if he looked long enough, the darkness started to move. Uh-oh, cut that out, he thought, rubbing his eyes. Oh, no, he says, you're getting as goofy as this dumb dog. Definitely nothing there, Garfield told Odie. Now just quit it. I've never seen a closetless monster-infested. Now, go back to sleep. This is not a monster-infested closet. So, out, you crazy mutt, said Garfield. This bed is for cats and teddy bears only, because look, what did Odie do?
Jump into his bag.
He jumped into his box to sleep, didn't he?
Yeah.
But Odie refused to budge. That does it, snapped Garfield. I'd rather be mauled by some monster than share my bed with you. I'm going to prove to you that there's nothing in that closet. And so Garfield stomped across the room. 6 feet from the door, he stopped. See, he said, smiling at Odie, nothing there.
Let me see.
What's in there?
I'm a monster.
Well, let's see. Anyway, he said, see, nothing there. And so Odie peered out from under the blanket and whispered softly, all right, you scary dog, said Garfield, gritting his teeth. And he walked all the way up to the dark, forbidding doorway. And now he could see the familiar outline of coats and boxes of John's golf bags and tennis rackets, but nothing out of the ordinary, certainly nothing to be afraid of. And so reaching out a paw, Garfield shut the closet door. There, he said, turning to Odie with a look of triumph. Now will you get some sleep? But Odie's eyes bulged out, and he began to bark furiously and whimper and cry. Garfield. Odie, I just showed you there are no monsters in the closet. But what is behind Garfield?
A monster.
What kind of monster?
Looks like a creature monster. A froggy one.
What kind of a monster is that, Cheyenne?
Froggy one.
What kind of teeth, though? Have you ever seen frog teeth like that?
It has sharp.
A snarfling. Look at this. He's got a dragon tail and horrible sharp teeth and a rhinoceros nose and like wings like a dragon like Scourge has on TV. And he is yucky. And he's right there behind Garfield the cat. And he took Garfield and what happened?
Ate him?
What happened?
He ate him.
Well, I don't think he ate him. I think Garfield got away. Don't you?
Yeah. How about we do
I think Garfield ran like crazy. Let's figure out what could Garfield do to get away.
Run away.
Well, no, but tell me, what would he do? What would he have to do?
You'd have to hide.
What, he'd have to run, and then what would he hide? Like if he were in this house. Let's just say that a monster were right there, and you saw it. What would you do?
I would run right into your bed.
Get Daddy to help you?
Yeah.
But what if Daddy wasn't there? What would you do then?
I'll just Willie.
Okay, and what if Willie wasn't there? Then what would you do?
Ask Mama.
And if Mommy wasn't there, then what would you do?
Take a fly swatter.
You would hit the monster with a fly swatter?
Yes. No, or a shovel.
Would you get a shovel and hit him?
Yeah.
What would you do, Cheyenne, if there was a monster right over there?
I will hit him with a shovel.
Oh, you heard your brother.
Or maybe I could just hit him with a big, huge tree.
With a tree?
Yeah.
How are you going to get the tree down?
Maybe I could just, maybe he would be outside, maybe I'd cut it down and it would land right on him.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Maybe when he's outside by the tree, and they'll, cut the tree down and they'll land on him.
Well, where did you get that idea? Huh?
From me, she got it.
She get it. We just played Commotion, didn't we? And you guys are the best players. I cannot believe how fast you thought of so many things. You've thought of all these things. I don't think there's any more room in this tape to probably fit that one in.
It's a short one.
Is it a short one?
Kind of.
Well, it probably won't all fit in the tape, but we'll see here, okay? Well, then I'll read that one, shall I? It says, Garfield crouched in the bushes, perfectly still. He heard the footsteps on the porch next door squeak to the mailbox lid as it opened, and the clank as it dropped shut. And now the footsteps were coming nearer, and they reached the end of Garfield's front porch walk, and they stopped. He's looking around, thought Garfield, and he suspects a trap. Garfield held his breath, and he heard the shoes scrape nervously on the concrete, and the footsteps resumed. Who's coming to Garfield's house? The mailman, isn't he?
It's a picture.
Okay. Anyway, one more step, and wow! Garfield pounced. Yeah! Cried the postman. He toppled backwards, letters and magazines flying from his mail pouch, and Garfield sat on the mailman's chest. Scared you, huh? And the mailman said, "You stupid cat. You stupid cat." Oh, Mother brought us some food. Wonderful.
How much do you guys think groceries?
A peanut butter.
Pie.
Hunter wants peanut butter and Cheyenne wants pie. How's that for breakfast, Mom? For lunch?
Yeah.
Guess it's 1 o'clock
Butter
already.
and jelly.
Oh,
I
yeah.
want pie. I want pie. Can I give some pie?
No.
Well, he said, I don't have a present for you. He wants a present from the mailman.
Yeah.
Just then, the mailman shoved Garfield off his chest, and he stood up, and he brushed himself off, and carefully put the mail in his pouch. And just then, a large box was... Oh, I do. I have a box here with your name on it. He opened the door, and what is it? Wow! it burst open, and this hairy spider the size of a basketball leaped out. Oh, no! I hate spiders, said Garfield, trembling. This spider is special, said the postman. I ordered him just for you. Too bad he didn't get lost in the mail. Oh! And so the spider likes to eat fat orange cats. That's what he does. He does? Said Garfield. He likes to eat them. And so the spider sprang at Garfield, who shrieked and turned to run away, but his feet seemed to be made of concrete, and he couldn't run. Run, run, Garfield screamed to himself. Oh, but look at this. The postman was laughing. The spider got caught up to Garfield. It crawled up his back and hissed in his ear a horrible hiss. Yay! Screamed Garfield, and he fainted. Slowly, Garfield opened his eyes. What happened? He said groggily. Where am I? And Garfield stood up and looked around. He saw the postman disappearing around the corner. I wonder what happened to that spider, he asked. And then he looked on the ground, and his face was bright green. Yuck!